tell, then you see the road. I'm out to my soul into the sides whenever the smoke clear out of my face and my picture perfect. Do it. All of that green together, the truth, yeah. Tell you the
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to Cypherfics. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the fifth part of, What If My Little Pony Meets Spider-Man? Special note, this fanfic is written and a masterpiece of JBoy44 on fanfiction.net. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. In the prison yard, Shining Armor was standing as Peter fired off fireballs from his gauntlets. Shining Armor spawned red energy shields to block them that vanished after impact. Merveillous ran in, pulling out another Phillies and pocket weapon. This one turned into an axe. He turned, blocking with his sword as a shield wall appeared, moved forward and hit her in the head, knocking her back. Spider-Man was first to speak up. He has found out how to completely cancel out his weakness. The symbiote is using his shields to defend while he focuses on attacking. Shining Armor smirked, his teeth red fangs, as a red shield wall appeared, blocking the next stream of fire. Peter fired for him, only his left gauntlet. Yes, what's wrong? Modern weapon running low on ammo. Spider-Man. The symbiote tells me you carry those things out of fear of running into it or one of its kind. Most have been using it a lot today while chasing it. He turned, swinging his biomass-covered sword at Peter, making him pop his stingers and block the swings like that. Merveillous throw her hooferangs, a lot of them, only for small little disc shields of red energy to appear around Shining Venom as he continued to slash at Spider-Man. The symbiote tells me all about your fighting style. You may augment it with new weapons, but you use your agility to sneak in to strike, he said as the symbiote spawned a disc shield to block a kick to the head. Peter was forced to flip back onto the wall as the guard Mares came out, opening fire on their guns. Shining Venom's shields appearing and vanishing to block it as he turned to them. Wenches, I am a prince's and rightful ruler. Once I reclaim my throne, form the corrupted form of my wife and force my daughter back on the path of right. But to do that the spider must die, he slashing his sword, sending off magic-infused bits of symbiote biomass, making throwing stars that hit and explode their gun barrels. As Spider-Man said, that's a new one. Most things wearing it just want to mimic me. Shining Venom scoffed at the statement as he jumped up, landing on a magic plate form and forming another to walk upstairs to fake flight as he made it over the walls like that. Why would I want to mimic my enemy? To do that would mean to become you. I hate you, knave. Peter blinked as he fired off a web line, or at least tired to, but disc shields formed, stopping him from it. The symbiote's multitasking skills are too great. We aren't getting out of here till he is far away. Merveillous growled, we can't let Venom get away. Peter touched the side of his mask. We aren't. I didn't want to have it, but we Feliciac benched and most of the others handling the Hoof and Hydra's territory fight. We only have 4 ponies for the job. Later on, Shining Venom slashed down the door to the castle. He expected to see his wife, but instead he saw his sister and her 6 friends holding the elements of harmony and fired their shot. His eyes turned red as he walked through in a mobile dome shield protecting him. The Mares gasped and tried to fire again, but nothing happened. Oh look, they need to rest. Never need to know that before now, did we? Now where is my wife Twilight? He said, dropping it. Twilight tried to put up a brave face with her friends as she said, you have lost that right. Rainbow Dash was backing away, pointing, how about we don't PSS him off? Do you see what he is wearing? He said as the armor gained spiked shoulder pads. Fluttershy let out an ep as he waved a hand, spawning tendrils form his back that grow and head for them. The Mares jumped but were all hit, Rarity letting out a scream, oh that's wrong. Applejack let out a cry as she hit the stone wall, thinks Peed. Pinkie Pie was on the floor face first, holding a hand up, no shame in that. Shining Venom retracted the tentacles as he walked over, fine, I will hunt for her myself. But in a moment 3 blast formed behind, tried to hit him, but he formed his shields and turned to see Dark Devil, Spitling Golden Strips and Zaven. A bug, 2 foals and a striped nag. Is this how low the modern champions have come? Golden Strikes cracked her neck as she said, oh you are so going down Venom, she said, firing off a sword blast making the shield form. While May Webb swung around to the left to try and land a kick, but another shield formed. Zaven covered in left arm in stone and fire while swinging and stretching it into a flail. A third shield formed at his back to block it. While Dark Devil charged and formed the right, the knight forming a fourth shield. Only for him to smile as he turned into flames and moved around it as fire and on fire grabbed the armor. Shining screamed as he tried to bash the colt with his armor and sword. He was screaming. The symbiote was on fire. All his shields keeping the others away were draining. All his will was keeping the symbiote on to burn on him while he tried to shake the foal off. He screaming. On fire. Feeling his and the slime's pain. He had fallen for a simple trick. The colt's power to become fire and move through the cracks. The reflex to summon small shields to block strikes instead of wasting power on a massive dome had backfired on him. They used his new instincts against him. Golden Hooves swung her sword around in a circle, rapidly making a sonic boom. As Zaven retracted her limb and crossed her arms to make a dome around Shining's head to rob him of air. They were trying to make him lose his focus and allow the symbiote to leave him. The slime wanted to leave, it was on fire, but the former prince was holding it in place. Before long, Shining blacked out the slime, leaving his armor, returning it to normal as Dark Devil let go. May quickly fired impact webbing, netting the slime. We did it, we cough venom, she said, holding out 2 fingers for V for victory. Cadance then ran in, Shining opening an eye to look at her before he passed out. Zaven crabbing him, I'll fly him back to jail, she said, taking off. Golden Hooves took the bag, my suit gives me air, so I am the only one who can get rid of this. I guess you foals can go play with Flurry Heart or something while mommies get to work, she said, flying out a window up high. Before long she was above Equus. She looked at the planet's 7 lawn masses spread out in a pattern similar to the elements of harmony and one big ocean. Her power to reach space made her useful all the new Prancer Industry satellites, allowing the internet to go global instead of just on their land mass because she carried them. She then let go of the bag, letting it drift away into the black void. Be gone, Venom. We know you'll be back someday, or Codex will make a copy of you, but for now be gone, she happily called as it drifted away. She had heard stories of the symbiotes. How quickly Peter led them to victory over them made her think they were a joke. But it was only because the host wasn't a fighter. Shining showed her just how dangerous Venom was. She would remember it next time they meet. She, though flying back down. She landed just in time to see Hydra and the hoof retreating. They were done. All that was left formed that auction was the remains of Ben in the Necro Nag's hands. The next day in the city it was swarming with giant spiders. Mask Matterhorn fired a freeze beam at one that froze it solid and it shattered. Okay, I get one giant spider tarantula's corpse is one, but how did she get a bloody army? In the tower, Mary, who had her arm in a sling dressed in just white shrit and blue shorts, hit a button. Me and Peter saw her summon henchmen breaking it apart for transport. She probably used Everlast Piece to summon one. Hence army of monster bootleg. Back in the battle. Zap was shocking the bugs with lighting as she said, how bucked. Zaven was in the air flying rapidly screaming she was a bug giant spider swarm. Her being scared shitless was understandable. They are going to mellow my insides and drink it. Saddle Rager was smashing one's head as she said, hate this fakes. Radiance was behind a dome as one hissed at her. Nope. Don't like. Mervilus was throwing a hooferangs and smiled when it hit one in 2 of its 8 eyes, double hit. Golden Strike slashed one in half down the middle with an energized slash dash with her blade as she said, okay ponies, not to be that nag. But Necronag can just resummon them, form the parts. When we are done. White Dove under one slashing its underbelly to kill it as she said, that's kind of the plan. When she resummons them we can note where they came from to find her hideout. In fact She-Devil and Spider-Man are on it now. Dark Devil was roaring as he burned one to death, I am working out so many issues right now. Spiderling was riding on one's back using webs to street it into a wall over and over as she said, go splat already. Flurry Heart was hovering firing off magic blast that killed them in one hit. Only for in the tower Mary, who was forced to act as mission control because of her arms, said, "They are coming out of the East Street subway tunnel, you know, the one they deemed couldn't be fixed after No Mars Land. Gee, that was a long time ago. But doesn't feel like it." Elsewhere She-Devil was flying sword in hand as Peter Webb swung in his stealth suit. "My other suit needs repair times thanks to the Venom chase, so shall we." Read. The Pegasus flowed down into the tunnel as she said, "He shall tiger." He then dropped and headed in as he turned on the lights in his lens and ducked to fire off a flamethrower blast at a Philizon copy. "I mean honestly, ladies. You were nags, but you should rest. Well, with so much of your weapons and armor around, makes sense you would be her go-to." Mary Jane was smiling happily, blocking strikes for 10 Philizons at once as she smiled. "You go ahead of me, I am having too much fun," she said, slashing one of the cloned women in half at the waist before flying up to avoid an axe strike. "Time to prove why my past life was called the She-Devil with a sword." Peter jumped to the roof and crawled along to come to the room filled with parts of Ben's exoskeleton as he used his wrist flamethrowers to start burning them away. "Sorry Necro, but not happening." He saw a door open as he walked along. She ran. "Well, she has no powers other than her army." His spider sense then made him duck. He then turned to see Antra's, or at least her clone. She banged her shield with her sword as she slashed at him again. He avoided every last strike, jumping into an unlit area to hide in his stealth suit as he crawled around as he said, "Oh, what an ugly face to see," he said, making the Philizon turn to slash, but nothing was there as a web line grabbed her sword and pulled it away. Spider-Man held it as he walked out. "This place echoes, not something you would have to worry about, back home," he said, snapping the blade in his hands and throwing the parts away. She charged, going in for a shield bash, but Peter flipped and landed a two-hooved kick to her neck. It snapped, making the clone vanish as it died. "So weird, they stay around for a minute before vanishing," he said, walking back to MJ to see she had won her fight against the Philizons. Peter then said, rolling my eyes under my mask, "Really formed the lady who didn't want the superheroes you sure took to power ponying up fast." Meanwhile in hell, the Ghost Rider, the former humdrum, roared as he sensed kindred. "You are not part of this world. Leave my Tartarus." Kindred laughed as he summoned his centipedes and that swarmed the Ghost Rider as he whipped his chains. They killed them with 2 hits, but the bugs kept coming. The human demon, "I know I am not of this world, but I have business here," he said, holding out his and Peter's contract. "I am allowed legally to provide something to challenge him every so often." The Rider looked to it and said, "Fine, just make it quick." The demon came to the cell holding ghostly images as he held his hand up. "Oh, echoes of past sins. I'll gather up the ones of main IAC," he said, holding the orb and vanishing to the land of the cold ice and snow. "I'll find one of those yak ladies to take it and make a new one," he said happily as he said, "but that will take while. Do this because I love you, Pete. And you only beat 3 challenges, this comes in 7. You beat the demonic goblin and my dad. Now you need to beat this. You beat Gritslang, who I time traveled to make. So this will be number 4. Months later in Canterlot City, Deadpool was in her normal outfit holding a little filly in a Deadpool-themed one-piece footy pajamas, sucking on a red pacifier. She had pink fur and brown mane and tail with yellow eyes. "Hi everyone, meet my baby Cherry Rich," she said, making the baby wave to the 4th wall. She then smiled. "It's been an 10-month time skip, 2 years since Peter showed up in this world, and we are going to the 3rd of the 7 land masses, the Yak Country, soon. But first I just want to show you my little baby. This came out of me," she said, holding her up proudly. The foal just made cute little baby sound sad. Deadpool nuzzled her, and just in time. "I don't think Filthy could have handled another month of my mood swings." Elsewhere Filthy was adjusting the cast on his left arm. "Just a month till this comes off. I wonder if I'll meet Mary again. Not that I am interested, she is in a herd already. Just nice to have a friend on the police force with who I am married to." Wanda came in holding the foal. "Again, if you want a herd, I am cool. I just want to make sure they met my standards." She popped out and said, "Now baby needs a new diaper." Aurora was packing up winter cloths happily as Mary walked in, still arm in cast. "So you're heading with Peter to the Yak Kingdom?" The power pony smiled as she pulled out a new costume that had legs with fake fur trim on the neck, knees, wrist and back, with new Arctic costume for Zap. Meanwhile Peter was packing up a new all-white and grey Spider-Man costume with fake fur around the neck, wrist and knees. And new Arctic stealth suit. Hope I don't need it for this deal, but who knows? He said as Charlotte walked in, the 1-year-old halfway falling over to hug her dad's leg. Dada. Peter in a moment picked her up and kissed her head, adjusting her hearing aids. No, don't do no wall crawling while I am away, he said, walking off as she yawned. She was dressed in little white shirt and overalls with a spider symbol on it. She was soon asleep and he put her in her crib, smiling before heading off to finish packing. He wasn't an idiot, far from it. After all, he knew Zap wanted a baby and was going to use this business trip for it. He hoped nothing happened, but he knew his Parker luck would make that impossible. Mostly as he found his and kindred contract again with stated event 4 out of 7 was around coming. Later on in the Yak's mountain country, Peter was web swinging. The buildings were small, but around them was massive evergreens and massive mountains. There wasn't any flat land, it was a nature web swinging paradise. His new Arctic suit was blinding and well, for the most part Zap flying beside her. The Yaks contacted Peter Prancer as the prince said it. Yaks want metal working plant. The Yaks didn't seem to want or dream about much. He looked down. The Yaks were 2 feet shorter than the average pony but had more muscle mass. And let's just saw the shorter, stronger females, while smaller carried that mass well, making them strong and attractive. Or as the Yak Queen said, all Yaks are stacked. He shook his head off it as he heard screaming and he web swung off. The Yaks didn't see anything odd, as they knew Peter Prancer didn't seem to go anyway without a power pony of 2 with him. Down below was a female Yak, hands on her peach, her fur purple, her mane green and tendril-like. She was dressed in a purple shirt, purple pants, black fur boots, black belt, black fur gloves and a thick black fur coat. She smirked as she used her mane to grab and throw things while stealing metals worth most in this country. New main IAC take. Zap was quick to call down lighting to strike her, but she used her mane to jump out of way. Main IAC warned about Spider-Man and Zap coming to stop main AIC when she accepts sin of old main IAC. Zap looked confused. Nad blinked. Spider-Man web swung, holding out his wrist to fire off a fireball, making the Yak jump again. Sin are bad deeds one has done. Take enough form someone else, you can take their powers and how to use it. The new main IAC used her hair to carve Will out of the fireball way as she said, yes, new main IAC have cheat sheet and Yak strength, she said, using her mane to lift up what looked like a shed load with metal and stone tools, which was a lot more than the old one could lift, and she throw it. The door falling open, making Zap fly up higher to avoid the shed and the tools raining out. While Peter flipped, cartwheeled and jumped out of the way thanks to spider sense. True, you are stronger than her. But unlike the old one, you don't have a tail tendrils to make it up. So you can grab less, he said, firing off more fireballs. I just had to load in the small fireball ones to set myself on fire. Zap blinked as she said, okay, normally I would make it rain, but it's too cold for that, it won't make her mane wet, she said, holding her chin as she blinked before holding out her hands, the necklace glowing as she span them around. Summoning a wind vortex that span around, picking up snow, and the tools firing them off. The Yaks had left, so it was unlikely to hit something. The new main IAC made a hair ball around her, but Stone Blade came and cut off one of her 10 hair tendrils, giving her bold spot as she blinked. Better main than main IAC, she said, using her other 9 to throw more heavy objects around her in the old school village at the 2 power ponies. Spider-Man fired a web line to get on side of a building as he looked at it to say, Yak Barber Shop. Does everything have to have Yak in its name here? He said, crawling down and flipping in. Once inside, he saw a Yak in an old-time barber outfit saying, what can Yak Barber do for Spider Pony? He pointed to the evil Yak using her mane for evil. I need the biggest pair of trimmers you got right quick to handle that. The male Yak hand him big garden trimmers, this for heavy-duty Yak afros in Yak springtime. This don't do it, nothing will. Peter took them and jumped out the window and leaped, cutting one of the tendrils as they tried to hit him, and he smiled, 2 down. The yak main IAC then tried to crush him with her main tendrils only for Peter to keep jumping and cutting them. I am a superhero, so no yak try jumping, running and doing flips with any form of trimmer at home. I am a trained upper hero profession who can heal form a neck cut. Before long Zap smiled as she called down lighting, this time with the trimmers in one. The lighting hit it and traveled along them and the hair, shocking main IAC but not Peter, as he said, best part of a mask. I can put RBB in all my costumes so I don't get shocked. Main IAC was being shocked and twitched as she said, they no teach that in yak school, she said, passing out form the shkok with the whole left side of her mane cut off. Zap smiled as she said, and so ends the new main AIC. Only for the yak lady to vanish and appear in Maritropolis. The yak woke up, getting up as Kindred's voice, you lost but welcome to the city. The yak removed her coat and smiled, main IAC will take city by storm, she said, using her mane to walk like a spider over roofs in the night. A few days later Peter and Aurora were returning, the mare holding her growing stomach happily, and third foal of herd prancer in the making. Elsewhere. Wanda was on the new much smaller personal computer sending a text that says, I don't care if you are sorry, stop messaging me. Flithy then walked in holding Cherry, what's wrong? Wanda sighed, my ex Shikla, she cheated on me and now wants me back. She never even really loved me. She is like a changeling's turbocharged cousin feeding on life force, and with me being impossible to kill, well you get that's what she was after, endless feeding, but I got too good for her to be seen with, so she left for a vampire. Flighty blinked, are those things lifeless? She nodded and his wife said, and we have a winner of why that was doomed. She won't stop messaging me on Hoof page. I keep blocking her but she makes a new account. I won't be surprised if she is hiding in the house waiting for me. The stallion raised an eyebrow as Wanda quickly changed into Deadpool with a spin and said, I should not have said that part, ... She then muttered about, yeah, now me, Kane and Teresa get chapters and this is going to be mine, she said, sword out, walking around. She jumped when she came into the living room to see a giant teddy bear, oh please, like I am falling for that, she then stabbed the bear only to scream as Shikla. Now in a changeling form but with goat horns and bat wings. Her normal outfit still on her, grabbing Wanda, oh how I missed you, endless meal. Smoke filled as Deadpool screamed, hit my emergency contacts, Filthy. In a flash she was gone, kidnapped. In a moment Cherry cried and Filthy looked to his arm in a sling, okay calm down, let's go check mommy's emergency contacts. Wanda was waking up to see she was tied to a table dressed in a copy of Shikla's outfit but red instead of black, and she blinked, yeah. Meanwhile, please, I don't feel safe, Shikla walked in smirking, holding a black bullwhip. Meanwhile at the rich manor Filthy was on the phone going down the list, emergency contacts, come on Scarlet Spider, my wife is in danger. What do you mean you don't give a SHT, you are a superhero. Oh come on, what did my wife do to make you say that? Oh, tried to go clone when she couldn't get a date with your brother. Okay, that's understandable, but a life is on the line. He hung up on me. Rude superhero. I never. Tiara and Ellie were making face to keep Cherry coma and Filthy looked to his broken arm, what can I do? Come on, think. He then saw a note that said, if everyone says now play the tape marked super emergency. He then went to grab the tape and load it into the TV computer thing Prancer made and hit play. A black and white image of his wife appeared and said, hi, if you are seeing this, SHT is F. Don't worry, you can find me. You know those Prancer track your dog things, well I had one put in the back of my neck in case of this. The tracker is hidden in my weapon closet. The key is our wedding rings. Love you, hope you save me. It then ended and Filthy ran to the closet and put his ring on the lock. It opened and there was the tracker, a black box with 6 arrows on it. He picked it up and hit the on button, making one arrow blink. Okay, so follow the arrows to my wife. Ellie quickly turned around, wow their step-daddy. You are not mom. Tiara turned holding Cherry, who was giving him the same stink eye as her sisters. Yeah dad, you don't heal form anything in the space of 10 minutes at most. Your arm is broken. You're not a fighter. I mean my fencing lessons form mom makes me a better fighter than you and I am 12. Filthy sighed as he said, I know kids but I have to, no one else will come do it. Kids watch after Cherry, he said pocketing a gun. He then head out and the daughter's jaws all dropped. Ellie sighed. Well, who's set up watch us if Dad dies? She said turning to her sister. Tiara sighed, you and Cherry will go to Grandpa. I'll end up going to my spoiled. I scared myself so much I peed. Later on Filthy was walking following the tracker when he heard gunfire and jumped back. He spotted Tamara's shooting at what looked like monsters. One mare had tan fur, blonde mane tail and blue eyes. She was an earth pony. She was dressed in a brown bikini top, brown vest, brown short shorts, brown cowgirl boots, hat and gloves. With gun holsters and holding a rifle, we need to find Shikla quick. Or my name isn't Inex Temple the Outlaw. The other mare had cream fur, orange mane and tailed, red-eyed earth pony. Dressed in orange bikini top, black coat, orange pants, black heel boots, holding 2 rifles. Yeah, I am Elsa Bloodstone, a monster hunter. Filthy smiled and said, wait, I can help you find her. Shikla has my wife and this thing tracks her, please help. They looked to him and Bloodstone said, well, that was handy. Before long they came to the warehouse and Outlaw kicked the door open and there was Wanda shaking as she cried, hi Filthy, Elsa, and Inez. I need a cry and a bath, please cut me down. In a moment the 3 had to jump to avoid hellfire being fired from the succubus queen. Shikla was holding fire on her hands. Despite the new gender, Deadpool is still an endless meal. The 2 Maras looked to her as the succubus throw fireballs at the girls. Filthy sighed. He had been underestimated all the time for being a stallion, but while he should be happy the evil demon wasn't trying to roast him alive with hellfire, he wasn't. He then heard growling and saw Wanda shooting at untie me now, look, while mouthing, think or you're on the couch for a weekend. Filthy then shook his head and ran off, and he pulled out the gun he pocketed and looked to see all the ropes were one rope tied through the table thanks to holes drilled in it. So he shot part of it. And Deadpool jumped up free, adjusting her top. She said, I am going to burn this, she said, taking the gun and shooting the succubus in the ass. The demoness jumped and screamed, "OUCH!" At that moment the other 2 armed Maras opened fire on her. Shikla covered herself as she growled and summoned a WHP of fire to knock back the 2 other Maras. How dare you set free my meal? Filthy then said, she is my wife, not a meal, he said, growling. Wanda petted his head, so cute and brave. In a moment Wanda fired on the demoness rapidly and smiled when she held her stomach in pain. The demoness saw bullets in the shape of a cross and hissed as she teleported away, screaming, I'll return for you, Deadpool. Later on at the rich manor, Filthy was leaving his room. He was in just his pants and he looked back to see Wanda, Inez, and Elsa sleeping in his bed sheet covering them, their outfits on the ground, as Filthy said, I have a herd now. And they are all super-powered women who like guns. I think I have a type and I am scared, he sighed as he walked off holding a bag with the Shikla outfit. I have to go burn this now. Meanwhile in the room Wanda got up holding the sheet to her body as she blow-kissed and said, well, that's my chapter. Next up Teresa and Kane's chapters before the next big arc. Still time to vote on the poll for favorite early arc, looking like the Crystal Emperor one is the most hated though. She then snapped her fingers to call a small time jump, so she was dressed in her house coat smiling as she said, now we had fun here kids, but don't grab a gun and go hunting for demons. You will not find 2 kick as monster thunder babes who are both 10s to help you. As you are not a character in a HRM fanfiction. She said, pointing. Also don't F with demons. Had to learn that the hard way. She then rubbed her backside, now if you mind I need to go get a brand removed. Crazy bee. She heated the SHT with hellfire that burns the F soul and flesh, damn it. She said, going to get dressed to go to the doctor for that. Tiara, Ellie, Cherry, Mommy Wanda is off to go get a brand removed. Be good little fillies for your dad and new mommies Inez and Elsa Bloodstone. She then walked out rubbing her backside, again ouch. Elsewhere. In New Jockey, Teresa as Spider-Mare was swinging around the city happily saying, yeah, been kind of boring, and wait what, she said, landing on the side of the wall to see the new main AIC, finally this will be fun. Teresa was flipping from building to building, avoiding thrown cares by the new main IAC, a super villain, just what I need to break off the I just got dumped rage. Don't vampire ponies. Maine I see throw cars watching Teresa jump as she said, if Maine I see had that plot she won't let it go. The spider-mare froze and drew her fun firing off a gas bullet that he plossed into a smoke screen. In a moment Teresa said, yeah not going to unhear that any time soon, she said as Main IAC went to smash to her left knocking away the smoke revealing she crushed Empty Street. As the superhero was behind her firing a teaser dart from her gun as she held up AV for victory as the villainess screamed and twitched. Throwing your voice perfect for stealth and mocking. And tricking idiots. My big brother should take the glasses. The evil mare fainted with hearts in her eyes and the spider lady jumped back and said, we got a freak on our hands ponies. Later on Teresa was in her apartment sighing, being a superhero can kill the dating life, wait I am the only superhero having that trouble. F it, she said stomping as she growled only to hear something at her window. She grabbed a gun her spider sense wasn't triggering but no danger to her doesn't mean whoever was there was good. She then turned what looked like a shadow just a shadow moving. Before long it was gone and she suited up and web swung after the shadow. She came OT at the shadow was moving around tapping at the windows of Mares. The Mares always jumped and there was more of them. To say it was strange was an understatement this was bat SHT crazy. It was like they were looking for a reaction. That is when she came to it blacklight on a tower she web swung down, okay buddy what's with the creepy peeping, she asked just shivering. The stallion turned and growled, looking for you. Figured. You would fire a web line or something revealing who you were to attack you at home. But no you played chicken and tricked me, he said making a fist. Like he wasn't even thinking of it failing. The man summoned construct of 2 black energy blades and flow at her. The spider-mare flipping over them only to have the leans cut by the blades bending and changing shape making her land on the ground as she said, okay someone has gotten better. She then went to grab a gun only for a dark light WHP to knock her holster belt off making her jump back as she said, yeah. Some pony has been working on that move. I am picturing a dummy with a belt on and everything. She said firing a web line to try and pull the gun to her only for him to fly up and cut the line as he made his weapons axes, see that's where you are weaker than your brothers you rely on guns too much. Teresa was jumping flipping and avoiding constructs thanks to her spider sense and she nodded and said, yeah that is a weakness but I was a late bloomer power-wise and had to use weapons to stand and fight. I didn't want to be a ton weight on my brothers' backs, she said while upside down and landing on her feet on a small rooftop water tower. Black Light smirked as he looked at her and said, what's this pony let along a woman admitting a fault? There may be hope for this world yet, he said almost happy at it. As he turned his constructs into what looked like his shadow army, I can't arm them but numbers should do. Teresa was jumping to avoid them, as she flipped and landed by a broom, she broke the tip off and held the handle like a staff and swung it breaking the shadow as she turned to hit another one. The shadows seemed to break, one hit kills. Not much or an amray. She said jumping overhead and landing staff one's head. As it vanished she fell but she gave herself a spin so she hit 5 while landing on her knees. She flipped up landing on one's head and jumped off hitting it in the head. She then turned and hit another one in the head. She happily span it around in a circle to her left knocking out and breaking 5, okay 10 left. She said happily. She charged forward giving a downward swing to break 1 and moving it to the right as she pulled it up to hit another. 8 shadows remained. She then gave a backwards kick destroying another and flipped to standing on one hand to do a split kick that destroyed 2 more. 5 more. While hopping back to her feet she span hitting the last 5 in a circle with the makeshift staff. She looked around no more and Black Light got away, god damn it. She said, turning to see her gun belt was taken she sighed she removed the serial numbers from them he won't find anything linking her to them. She then web swung and had to face a choice, okay he could be still spying on me hoping to go home. And as watching isn't harmful my sense won't go off. Well time to test. She soon swung to her apartment building normally when being followed the sense would go off as the person would want to do harm to the building to make sure they go there. Nothing happened. He gave up and she head for her own window to desoot and plan on improving her new spider power skills, not relying on guns so much. Elsewhere in Canterlot. A young colt named Button Mash, dressed in a yellow shirt, brown pants, white shoes and a green backpack, was hopping along a trail to a cave, and he spotted the red sheet of glass inside as he said, "Hi Mr. Red Ronnin, how are you doing?" The glass said, "Still have no body but somehow still online. My only complaint is my lack of form. I was made to be a guard against evil Gans. A metal samurai to protect all. I cannot do that as a buried head." Button Mash. Button looked down. "I asked around, no one believes me. Only person I think would be Spidey." The Ronin triggered a memory. Spidey. Name recognized, spider-powered superhero. I know him. Red and blue costume. The Colt smiled. "That's perfect. I know he hands around Prancer Industry. Maybe I can tell Mr. Prancer that Spidey's friend the Red Ronin says hi form." Button Mash. "When my school goes there in 3 weeks. Red Ronin then said, "Yes, we most hope." Button Mash Otudo. Meanwhile in Prancer Tower. Aurora was smiling as she changed her newborn sleeping colt's diaper. She smiled. He was a little earth pony that looked very much like his father, but he had her mane and tail. "The fact you don't have wings will make your grandparents so mad. Mommy is so happy." Little Richard. In the ruins outside the Griffin Kingdom. Daring Do was walking with Zekra and a suited-up Kane. "You know it's strange?" Kane then asked, "My sister joining the rich herd with Deadpool?" The Pegasus blinked and looked to him. "No, well I mean yes, but I was thinking the fact the Griffins never were able to build cities grander than this," she said, pointing at the castle way larger than any modern-day buildings around here. Zekra held her spear and said, "So this was their peak. What's the big beak?" she said, smiling at the pun. The explorer adjusted her backpack and rolled her eyes. "First, oh so funny, I forgot to laugh. Second, she kicked off some vines and revealed a simple of a spider. They said they didn't want to anger the spider. I don't think the Prancer are the first spider totems on Equus." Kane then dusted off another part of the symbol stone to show it was broken. "Yeah, I don't think it's a spider," he said, picking up and placing in a stone that gave the spider a tail. Zekra blinked as she asked, "Scorpion, but all they speak of is the spider, the spider." Kane then adjusted his head as he dusted off more of a wall to show what looked like a pony with the lower body of a spider. Daring Do smiled as she said, "And that is what we are here to figure out. People, a massive totem battle happened here. So to the temple," she said, flying up as Kane fired a web line and grabbed Zekra to carry her up faster, where they came to what looked like the cracked open shell of a massive scorpion. Kane touched it and said, "Yeah, that's proof of the scorpion, but what about the spider?" Zekra then pointed to the wall glowing with a spider system as Kane's mask glowed the same as did the eyes of the Mares, and Kane said, "The past, it is showing us it." In the past the tribal griffins were about to sacrifice one of their own to a scorpion god by way of using stone axes to cut off the head. When down the walls of the temple came the arachnoid. Looked like an earth pony similar to Peter and Kane formed the waist up. But with 8 eyes and the lower body of a black armor-plated spider. Kane saw him and went, "Father." The arachnoid spoke up, "No ending of life is an offering. You will be punished for this if you continue. Or my name isn't Richard Parker." The head priestess dressed in some Aztec outfit cut the head off, making the spider look away. "If we were to be punished it would have happened long before you arrived, demon, now be gone." The spider crawled away, jumping off into the high trees where he crawled along saying, "I am Richard Parker. After my cover was blown, Hydra did something to me. I arrived here like this, a savage Spider-Man. With this griffins killing one another. For some Scoprian god." He crawled down a tree to a webbed-up tunnel system he dug and crawled into. "I was a trapdoor spider and I would hide here all the time. I tried to teach them but they won't learn. I had no idea where my wife was or how my son was doing, at least I knew my daughter was safe. That is when I heard it trees being knocked over and crawled out to look. It looked like a building-sized scorpion crawling towards the Griffin City. I thought of letting them deal with it themselves, but then the sound of stone falling over changed my mind. As I crawled off, In the Griffin city the scorpion that looked like their god was destroying their city. The priestess shivered. The spider was right, their god did hate them for its sacrificing lives, and now he had enough and was being punished. It was about to smash her underclaw, but the spider jumped out, grabbing her. It was at this point the sun was rising, allowing the priest to be seen. She looked just like Gilda. The spider put her down. I bet you regret the ritual clipping of your holly member's wings now, don't you? He then jumped into it, and in a moment the other arachnid roared and went to tail stab, but Richard jumped back as he said, I would normally allow you to give them what they want. But there are hatchlings here that haven't done anything wrong. Can't have that. The bigger beast roared, charging and smashing and going in for stabs, but Richard was avoiding them. He was quicker thanks to being smaller, and he was climbing up a temple, making it use the steps. Come on. He then headed inside of it, smiling as he used his legs to quickly dig a pit into the stone. He hid in it and lift up some of the rocks and spat webbing from his mouth to hold them out. That should work. Come on, beastie, he said, looking for a spy hole. Before long the scorpion was in the temple, and in a moment he jumped out of his trap door and smashed right into where the legs, claws and tail hooked into his underside. Richard cracked it and crawled inside of it, using his sharp spider legs to slash up the soft insides as he crawled around inside the shell, which was hard. It was so tight, he honestly believed he would need to eat his way out to find the exit again. So he too bit. The scorpion was screaming in pain as the head priestess walked in to see Richard crawling out its underside, the beast dead, as he said, It's done. I only did it as with great power comes great responsibility. He then jumped out the side back into his jungle home. From that day forward the griffins would change. The birds were packing up to leave, changing the size of their temple, speaking of the spider, and leaving their weapons in the middle of down in a spider symbol. The head priestess then spoke, For years we worshipped the scorpion god, but he was a demon, just using us for power by feeding it sin. The spider god tried to warn us, but we did not hear his words. She then removed her headdress. We will learn from this and remember what he tried to teach us and be protectors of others. Maybe then our sins will be repented and the spider will come back. As at this point the spider had not been seen. The vision ended. The three explorers then walked off to a cave now free of webs and spotted the lower body of a spider exoskeleton with the bones of a pony torso with multiple eyes in the skull. Daring Do blinked. He must have lived just as long as a spider. And died shortly after his battle. Well, this explains why they view the spiders as the second coming of their savior. Kay nodded as he said, And now I know what I most do. In the Griffin town as festival was going on dedicated to the spider, with suited actors recreating a fight between the arachnoid and large beast. The scorpion, one massive puppet with griffins under it. It was then everyone stopped and looked up to their church tower. There was Cain crawling down it. He and lead their history only fought in wars when they need to and came to those whose asked aid. They were the most peaceful race here. He then said, You did good, before firing a web line to swing off. The Griffins bowed and did a cross on themselves, for they saw it. The spider had returned to them to told them they did what they should have. Meanwhile, Ellie was waving at it and said, Okay, then join us next chapter for our next arc. And also poll is now closed. Return of the Crystal Emperor was dead last. The others were in a tie. I would have, though the Philizan attack / no Mara's lands arc would have lost, but oh well. See you next time, same spider fanfic whenever the writer can get to us. You know, real life and all. Inside of a domed jungle, Spider-Man was swinging away from a strange mare. She called herself the Space Spirit, claiming to be an animal and one of the ancestors to Equus by her ponies sending criminals to this world in ancient times. That didn't explain the other races. He was now on the tome. She was ghostly white-furred, mane-tailed, with black eyes in a white body suit. White jetpack belt, white bands around her biceps, wrists and knees with built-in heels. She pointed her white retro-looking blasts at him. If I shoot you the dome breaks and we both die in the void. You beat me. Yes, finally I have found a hub sand. Peter's lens mimicked a wide eye as he said, No, you haven't, lady. Even if your story is true. I highly doubt we are compatible genetically at all at this point. After all, you made it clear you need an energy wavelength to stay healthy. I don't. That genetic difference alone would mean you would need a test tube full, which defeats the point of looking for a husband that way. And above all else, I am not attracted to you, so I refuse and will happily kill us both if you don't send me home and leave me alone, he said, spider legs on the dome, clawing at it to scratch it to show he was serious. Space Spirit looked down sadly, rubbing her left arm. Never thought of any of that. I guess I am just a nag. And should have agreed to a date with the stallion who want to ask me out instead of looking for the mightiest stallion in the universe. I'll send you back, I am such an idiot. I'll give you some repair slime as a parting gift. It'll fix any machine. Weeks later. In Meritropolis, students were coming in for a tour of Prancer Industries with Spruce acting as a tour guide. Right away Button Mash raised his hand and she pointed and he asked, "Someone tell me to hand over Spider-Man a message for him. Are we going to see him? The foals mostly want to see the power ponies, every last one had a backpack with one of theirs images." Spruce sighed and said, "What was the message?" The Colt then said, "Red Ron says hi." Peter walked up adjusting his tie as he asked, "That thing is still working?" Button smiled as he walked over. "Spider-Man told you about him? He is stuck in a cave in the forest in my backyard." Most of the teachers and students' eyes widened as Button's wild stories were being confirmed. Little did they know something was up. On top of a building the Necro Nag was holding a scale. She happily said, "Thank you, Maker. By my Necro Nag hands the rays form your grave American kaiju." In a moment the scale glowed bright, unlike normal, since this was organic soft tissue. It burned up in her hand. She jumped back, letting it go as she saw the light head to the water around the city. It bubbled and the ground shook as a head came out. Before long a massive drake came out roaring, "Yuuessssaa." The American kaiju roared loudly, spinning its tail to knock down a building as he stepped on cars, making ponies run for their lives at the sight of a giant monster. In Prancer Industry the ground shook as the beast was coming closer. Peter was quick to look at it as he said, "Button, we need Red Ronin. Spider-Man gave me something to fix him." Outside Radiance was using her powers to make a dome. It was massive, but all she could do. Philly Second ran into the lobby with the repair slime and grabbed Button Mash. "Colt, lead the way," she said, happily running. Elsewhere Button's mom was doing the dishes when she saw Philly Second appear with Button under her arm, and she called out, "Don't worry. Your son just the only pony who knows where Red Ronin is. Who we need to stop the giant monster. This is official power pony business." The mother then fainted where she stood as Philly Second ran quickly through the woods to the cave. She put Button down as she called out, "Red Ronin." The voice respawned, "Yes, who is there?" Button Mash then happily watched Philly Second pull out a jar of white slime. "She is here to fix you for Spidey." In a moment the power pony ran in and came to the lens and opened the slime, pouring it on. She then ran out, grabbing the Colt, getting to his backyard as she watched. The ground shook. Button's mother came out, eyes widened as it stood up from the forest. It looked like a silver humanoid in full-body red samurai armor, massive katana at its side, built-in shield to its left. Skull-like mask on its helmet. The new giant of metal said, "I am the Red Ronin." Button's mom fainted at the sight of her son's not-so-imaginary friend. The giant turned to see the lizard and he walked off, being careful where he stepped. "I see I am need," he said, drawing his sword. Slowly. Meanwhile in Prancer Industry the barrier was shattered by the monster, who roared only to scream in pain as a slash hit its back. The lizard turned to see the robot holding his katana with one hand as he called out, "I am the Red Ronin. You will not harm anyone else, monster." He then got into a fighting stance. On the roof Selena took off her golden strips helmet and commented, "I guess we let them fight." The lizard roared as he charged, only for the robotic samurai to raise his left arm and move it forward to shield bash the head. As the lizard fell back, the shield hand grabbed the tail and with a spin throw the lizard back into the ocean. The samurai then got a running start and jumped over into the ocean, two katana pointed down. As he fell the lizard dove under the water to avoid it. The sword stabbed the shell part of the ocean before being pulled out and the robot marched under the water. Under the water the red Ronin was quickly charged at. It was quicker while swimming to the point it was able to bite onto and rip off its shield arm below the elbow and all. The robot samurai held his katana and looked around for it to see it coming like a torpedo, and he turned. Above the ocean was stained red as the robot walked out, missing one arm. Its sword sheathed in its head, the monster's head. With he dropped, the beast is no more. That is when he spotted Spider-Man suited up and carrying Button Mash, who was smiling and waving at him. The samurai looked to his arm slowly repairing itself. I have been upgraded to self-repair. Spider, you have changed, and friend Button Mash. Spider-Man happily said, yeah, so have you. Thank Button Mash for saving the city. But still I hear the Dragonlands is filled with berserker giants of greed. They could use you to help keep the non-insane dragons safe. The red Ronin bowed, arm on its chest as his arm was still repairing. But couldn't bow like normal. I shall do that. Point the way and I shall go. In a moment Button pulled out a camera. The next day in his room Button Mash smiled at his picture him on the red Ronin's shoulder with Spider-Man, only the giant's head was in it. He went from being a nerd to the kid that helped the power ponies. To say he was happy was an understatement. In the city flying above the air was a Pegasus pony with Zap's color pattern, wearing a tribal vulture skull helmet that hid his face, a bone necklace with a charm that looked like silver circle with a lightning bolt and a slash through it. He was dressed in what looked like primitive pants, only flying through the city armed with a metal broadsword. Here is the traitor. Saddle Rager fly at the enemy, charging in for a punch, but the necklace glow making the power pony downsize to normal, allowing the Evely to give an airborne roundhouse kick to her head. The mightiest power pony was knocked out. Flying up next was Zaven with Mary Jane as she looked to the she-devil with a sword. He can turn off non-natural powers with that thing. My powers are natural, but you are just a MSTR swordsmare thanks to past life memories. MJ flew forward clashing swords with the guy. What's this about Vulture? She called out, declaring him just a new owner of the mantle. The Vulture flew back, my daughter. She dared leave have her full fathered by a mud walker, and the full dare not have wings. She most pay for this. I cannot be related to a mud walker, he declared, slashing his sword against MCJ's. He made his blade glow, charging with black lighting. He then flew forward and cut through MJ's sword, allowing him to knee her in the gut, making her eyes widen. One elbow strike to her head, later she was knocked out. Zaven was then forced to fly off rapidly to Prancer Tower. The bad guy wasn't after them, he was just trying to knock them out so he could find someone, but who? At the tower Aurora was holding Richard, shaking. It's my dad. He has the anti-necklace that can shut off magic enhancements. Everyone there jumped. Mervilus was suiting up. Well, this is a problem mostly as me and Matterhorn are the only one that can fight the butt. She pointed to Mary. Your speed isn't natural. Zelena, your powers are form a magic suit. If it can stop Zap's necklace form working, you're out. Same with Green, she said, looking to those teammates, then to Ava, some for your necklace. Peter had to be chosen to be a spider totem. Face it ladies, my powers are natural, I just can't use my rope. Matterhorn is just skilled in attack magic. May hopped up and down while speaking. Hello, born a spider, my powers are natural, she declared happily, offering herself up for sidekick. Mervilus then said, okay ladies, let's suit up. The Connors need their lizard form to live, just like Riley needs his demon side. We can't let him get to this tower or 4 living things will drop dead. Later on in the city. The Vulture was flying around, his blade slashing through metal as he rampaged looking for the tower, not noticing it was right behind him. He was clearly a simple man from a tech-free land. Now it's not like the cops weren't trying to stop him, they were. Only problem was all the tech in this city had magic in it to make up for not having parts Earth had, so his necklace could shut off things like cars and guns, leaving the cops with just batons, riot gear and riot shields. He was able to cut through easily with his dark lighting charged blade. So it was more like he had a massive advantage on a city running on magic tech city. At that moment, however, May Webb swung in and landed on his back and tried to grab the necklace, only for the man to grab her and throw her. While falling, she fired a web and swung to the side of a building. Man, he is quick. Masked Matterhorn then appeared on top of a building. My multi-shot magic bottles are natural magic, she spoke as she charged a white magic ball on the tip of her horn before it burst into 7 magic bullets, one of each color of the rainbow. The vulture was flying rapidly to avoid them when a hooferang's fly bow, hitting the necklace hard enough to break it and make it fall off. The Philizon heroine ran out, jumped Dove and grabbed it, got it. The bad guy was flying down, roaring only for Merveillus to pull out a small knife. Within a moment the charm in her hand glowed, charging the knife with dark lighting, letting it slash through the broad sword. The vulture looked to his blade in shock. A mudwalker use one of the charms? Never. How dare you? In a moment a web blast hit his helmet's underside as May span, webbing up his mouth. While he flew up to try and rip it off, a lightning bolt hit the bad guy, knocking him out. Meanwhile, miles away on the Power Pony roof, Zap was suited up, smiling as she looked into a telescope Peter had made. She turned to the suited-up hero and she said, "You were right, there was a range of effect on the anti-magic charm. And using a simple magicless machine let me snipe him." "Nice," she said, hugging him and kissing the side of her mask. "I picked the right kind of stallion." Peter put his hands on her peach and she smirked. "Put those someplace useful." She sounded flirty about it. Later on, Peter was at the harbor. He was holding chest. Inside of it was a smaller chest locked like crazy with a lead box inside of it to hold the anti-magic charm. The lead blocking its powers, allowing enchantments, form magic and magic tech to work around it. And the bigger boxes made sure the lead wouldn't poison the ocean. He knew it won't, because while the chest was wood, the smaller were metal and plastic in layers. It couldn't be broken in my most natural forces. He throw it into the ocean to be carried away and sink. Whither underwater volcanoes would melt the charm and the boxes. It would fall and sink to never see light again. And if someone did find the chest with a total of 1,000 locks, get luck getting it out. He web swung off, saying, "And down goes my evil father-in-law, Vulture's best weapon. He is just a normal Pegasus now. No magic powers. No anti-magic, no dark lighting to charge his swords with." He sounded happy about it. If only all bad guys could be this easy to handle. He though firing a web line. If they were, it would be so easy. But for now he had to focus. The Necro Nag had made 2 big displays of her false resurrection powers. She need to be jailed again, and quickly. They would need to hunt her down before she got a hold of some other weapon to revive someone else. Little did he knew, below his feet in the underground the Necronag was smiling, holding a damaged, twisted, burned piece of cloth as she walked through the sewers. She smiled. "I can't believe I snuck into the Power Pony Museum and got the Demogoblin's fabric." The first bad guy Spider-Man faced. "I'll summon him good coming up next. Once I find someone to back him up." She sounds sure of herself. She thought it out. The most she challenged them was with a Philizon army. But said army all fought the same. One powerful guy wasn't going to cut it. Nor an army of the same guys either. She need a team of different villains to work for her. She need an undead group to fight them all. She had the Demogoblin. She still had that Philizon's shield. So that was 2. She want more. She need more. She would find it soon enough. She said, smirking, and added, "Just need to do some digging. This city was built on an old war ground. I can find some solider form the past to dig up." Underground in the sewers, Necro Nag was in a dug tunnel being dug by the Hobgoblin and Andras. She was watching them when they hit something that looked like a handle of a sword. The Necro Nag smiled as she pulled it out of the rock with her a magic pull, making it fly into her hand. "By my Necro Nag hand, raise whoever owned this, who was the strongest." In a moment what looked like a female earth pony with no mane, a tied-up tail so only the tip of the purple fur showed, her body had white fur. She was dressed in a red bandage top, and red pants held up by rope. She was holding what looked like a katana. The left eye was scared and closed, right her golden eye looked at. The Necro Nag pulled out a Prancer Industry computer and went on the wiki by searching, "Swordmare no mane white body fur. One eye, oh here you are." The main killer, a mare who struck down every last stallion who left the field to go into the battlefield, including her own son who dreamed of being a soldier, not a house husband. SHT your F evil lady. You are perfect. Wait, it says here your son or someone who claimed to be survived with a massive scar across his chest and missing his left arm, is an ancestor of Mayor Blossom. That can work. The Necro Nag put the new model up into a bag pack as she said, I love this F things. Andres Hobgoblin main killer, come here. It's time. Meanwhile above, Spider-Man was swinging around the hoof. There Letty, the former high heel, had a new outfit. Red kimono mini skirt style top with metal band holding her 4 metal arms on. Black stockings and red heels. She had embraced a new identity as Lady Ock. With him was Ava, who was happily using her claws to slash at the ninja's new 2 tentacle belts, allowing them to strike out with them while throwing shuriken. The white tiger roared as she ran along one to a hoof ninja and knocked him out with an open palm strike to the head. The other power pony with Peter was Zaven, using a barrier to block strikes while covering it with fire to fly and ram into the ninja, knocking them over, breaking their tentacles and setting them on fire as she smiled, saying, "This is too easy." The last power pony backing up Spider-Man as Zelena the Golden Strikes, who was slashing the tentacle strikes with her sword before firing off force blast to knock them away. Even with an upgrade they are still sad. Just less so as this is taking longer. Lady Ock's 4 metal arms stretched to try and slash Spidey, only for him to jump. His 4 spider legs slashing each one off, leaving them handless and only usable as whips. Peter was flipping and firing web lines to pull himself out of the way of said whipping as he inches closer and closer. Till he held out his left wrist and fired off a fireball that hit Lady Ock. Lady Ock ran around screaming, rolling around to put out the fire while removing her melt so the metal didn't melt all over her, and he said, "This is why the Lady Ock back home has a force field around her body, so you have to go through the tentacles first." The police showed up. Meanwhile in a park, the mayor of the city, Mayor Blossom, dressed in a dark blue business suit with skirt stockings and blue heels that went with her pale grayish-blue fur, white mane and golden eyes. She was a slightly older mare, slightly on the chunky side, but she was still very lovely as she prepared her speak. The statue behind me is of a shogun who hired the main killer. An ancestor of mine who cut off her own son's arm eye and slashed his chest, leaving him to bleed out. This shogun statue must be knocked down. A woman who would hire a mare that would not only crush her son's dreams but try to kill him is too evil. My ancestor not only won the rebellion against this bee, but with 1 arm he became a better swordsman than main killer ever could. In a moment the news crews ran as out walked Necro Nag, Andra the Hobgoblin, the monster that start the new age by triggering Spider-Man's arrival. Then the main killer growling at her descendant. Mayor Blossom was standing her ground as she said, "You bring her back. The shame of my family. The ultimate reason I want Prancer's statue in place of this shogun." The main killer walked forward dragging her katana as the goblin took to the air laughing. He sent out a sonic blast that knocked over the statue, making the main killer turn to it. The killer was shocked, being forced to focus back on the mare. Necro Nag's powers kept the clones in line for her. The killer wanted to kill her male teammate and punish her descendant for siding with males, but she couldn't, not while Necro Nag was walking. The Philizan walked up holding her sword out to Blossom's neck. The mayor stayed brave as she said, "The only one of you that scares me is the goblin." Necro Nag walked up as she said, "Yeah, but with Hydra making a stand keeping most of the power ponies and their 3 sidekicks business, it's just the 2 bugs, the cat and the striped lady coming. 4 on 4. In a moment White Tiger jumped out attacking Andres, knocking her back as her claws sparked, "Eat shock claws," she said, going in for a slash. Now being a Medivel-style warrior with no idea what shock meant, the Philizan raised her shield blocking it, but the spark traveled formed the claws into the shield into the warrior woman, making her scream in pain. Ava was fine, her suit was shock-proof. The hobo goblin's laugh was stopped by a force beam to the mouth as golden strikes hovered as she said, "Can't laugh with a broken jaw." The goblin held its broken jaw as it summoned its sword of fire to shoot fireball. The zebra mare flew to avoid them and fired off sword blasts back. 2 can play that game. Without that sonic laugh of yours, this is a mirror match, isn't it? The main killer was soon knocked back by a swinging in spider mane. His spider legs were broken, so he stood stingers out as he said, "Out of flame thrower duel and spider legs. Bring it." The mare charged in, going in for slashes only for stingers to block them quickly, and to her shock Spider-Man blocked and moved his left fist forward, landing a stab to her stomach. The main killer's eyes widened. It was the first time a male had injured her. It would not stand. She growled, holding it and going in for more slashes, but the spider avoided them, blocked, and counter-attacked continued. The revived killer roared in rage at this. She was being outmatched by a stallion. Meanwhile, the necro nag was holding a gun as she jumped to avoid a stretched-out stone fist coming down as a stretching chain flail forms. "Aven, really you think that will work?" The super changeling flowed down and held her other hand out to throw fire. The fire hit the necro nag. But the mare walked through it smiling, "I got my powers in a demon deal. I am fireproof." She then made her horn glow to fire off a blast of energy. The super changeling summoned a shield and charged forward with jet power to ram into her as she said, "Maybe directly." The jet ram knocked out the necro nag. Now knocked out, her revived minions vanished in puffs of smoke. Spider-Man ran to web her up for the cops, get a magic jammer on her. Mayor Blossom smiled as she patted his shoulder, "Thank you Spider-Man for all you do. I know I give you keys to the city and a day and all, but it just isn't enough to thank you," she said, blushing. Like many Maras, she found the Spider and Prancer to be the two most attracted stallions on the planet, with the Spider's brother Scarlet coming in as a close third. But thanks to her job, she was around both of them a lot. It was honestly way she want to keep winning the mayor job. Spider-Man turned and said, "It's nothing, I am just doing what's right. Okay, this is over, we power ponied up and now it's time to leave." "Got a date to get ready for," he said, spinning a web as Ava jumped from rooftop to rooftop, leaving Golden Stripes and Zaven to fly off. Mayor Blossom sighed, "Whoever it is, they are a lucky pony." Later on, Mayor Blossom was smiling as she was sitting at a table in a restaurant across from Prancer. It was a diner date to talk about a contract, but the mayor was happy as she was still on a date with Prancer now. If only it was Spidey. Oh, how she did not know. In the Marvel Universe, Kindred was walking through the X-Men mansion. He hummed along as he walked through it, looking at doors with students' names, and he came to the one marked Martha Jonathan. He made the door open, walked in, and came out with a brain in a jar as he said, "Relax, no girl, I am here to give you a new body, well-used body." "Relax, no one is in the used one," he said, vanishing to a hospital in the Power Pony universe. Before spoiled milk, she fell into a coma and became brain dead when her husband found out she was just a gold digger and divorced her. "You will have full use of her old memories, but now she is brain dead and your body dead." No girl then spoke up, "And why you do this?" Kindred smiled as he happily said, "Simple little lady, as long as it makes headaches for the spider I can do what I want. And you have my pity." Almost like magic, he phased the brain out of its tank and put it inside of Spoiled's body. Inside of No Girl was viewing her memories of having a loving husband and not caring, a daughter and not giving a SHT, then drinking herself to the point she got hit by a car while drunk post being dumped. The brain's only thoughts were this was an ungrateful bee. But as she slowly opened Spoiled eyes, she couldn't help but be happy, as it wasn't that bee's body, it was hers. A doctor walked in and she tried to speak only to make a sound, making him see her eye. She hadn't had a body in a while and this one's joints were numb as SHT. She would need to learn how to use it. But it won't look any different from a normal person needing physical therapy. While learning how to use Spoiled's body, No Girl smiled as she walked around the hospital in the hospital pants and shirt. She was shaky on her hooves but was walking with use of a cane. She was also happy Spoiled body lost some mass thanks to coma. She was thinner now but felt like she need to work it out. Something about wanting the muscles to show. This was her greatest second chance yet, but also she hadn't tried it yet, but she wondered if she kept her powers. Weeks later she was walking around dressed in jeans, a lime green t-shirt and black boots. She smiled, she had been working out and she had Spoil's body looking pretty and younger. The weird thing her nose did was even reversed, she was getting compliments. As she walked she noticed the Yak Main AIC robbing a bank. In a moment she touched her head and focused, trying to use her old powers, and it worked. From her head came a physic pulse that made the Main fall flat. She had temporarily turned off her powers. Sadly for no girl, she had been watched. In Hydra's lair, Shadow Mane or Madam Hydra watched it. That mare turned off the freak's powers with that we could end the power ponies. Bring her to me now. Not but an hour later in the city, Spoiled was running for mech suit wearing Hydra solders. She saw Spider-Mare swinging in to rip out a power cell, as Deadpool jumped down stabbing one's power back. As Bloodstone and Outlaw were taking aim and shooting at power cells on the backs of mechs form rooftops. Outlaw then spoke up, "Why is Hydra after our man's ex?" Bloodstone jumped down and looked to Spoiled, "Yeah, I would like to know that myself." Spoiled gulped and said, "Would you believe the mind in his is the X-Man no girl? Who can turn off other people's powers?" Deadpool putting up her swords to pull out her guns to shoot, only for a sonic gauntlet to fire a blast knocking her through a building as she said, "That is sexiest you wear an X-person." In a moment Spoiled ducked rolling into a down shop of fabric. She quickly noticed Outlaw and Bloodstone's new headband-like masks. She ripped off some fabric by eye holes and put on the mask. Only for Madam Hydra to laugh as she turned to see her. "Oh hello Spoiled. Don't bother, my sword beam comes from the leather on the handle, not me. Nothing for you to swch off." The zebra mare went to slash her, only for Spoiled to avoid it easily as she said, "Yeah, can also read minds and slow reflexes," she said, avoiding a swing and landing a kick to the evil lady's stomach. Madam Hydra was sent back growling as she said, "Really now, knowing my moves and making me slower so you can avoid and counter. You will work for Hydra so we may kill the unpowered power ponies." Spoiled held her head, sending out her psychic signal, making the mare freeze. "Nope, you are not. I can also biohack, but this is hard," she said, making the zebra mare point her blade at her own neck. The mare was trying to fight her arms, struggling to move the blade to her neck. "Doesn't matter, we have clone revival. We will have your power to take away powers for a while for Hydra." She spoke as the sword went through her neck. Spoiled sighed as she said, "There goes that normal life I dreamed of." Months later, no girl was in the rich manor. Tiara liked the new version of her BRTH mom better and she joined Herd Rich. She had also changed her mane and tail color to orange. It was enough to fool Hydra. She was also walking out in a new outfit: black pants, yellow boots, yellow belt, black long sleeve with yellow shoulder pads and yellow gloves. With a yellow X over the chest, she smiled as she said, "Always want to wear a standard uniform," she said, smiling as Wanda, Teresa, Inez and Elsa comment, "Yeah, but no girl won't work." Wanda held chin as Spoiled, now going by her brain's name of Martha, said, "Well, what will work?" Deadpool then put the fabric mask on her and said, "Brain drain." Teresa rolled her eyes. "She doesn't drain brains, she turns off powers and hacks bodies. So not going with that." The cowgirl then said, "How about biohack?" The monster hunter held her chin. "That works for me." "How about you, Martha?" Martha smiled as she said, "Works for me too. Biohack, you know the five of us need a team name." Deadpool made an X with her arms, X-Force. Filthy walked by and said, "I have 5 superhero wives, I am a happy stallion." Tiara walked by saying, "Yeah, and also Martha, thanks for replaying my BRTH mom, love you way better than I could ever love her." Ellie walked up and blinked. Ouch, how big of a bee was she? Cherry then crawled up and took out a pacifier to say, "Massive." They all looked. Cherry's first words was a joke. Wanda picked her up and gave her a big happy hug. "That's my little foal." Tiara blinked as she said, "Ellie, we need to up our pun game." From this day forward, biohack would be Hydra's main target, with plans to use her to kill the spider. So this was Kindred's 5th event, as Hydra now had a way to put him and the power ponies down. If they could get her first. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 6. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author JBoy44 on fanfiction.net. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.